So actually, that brings me, I want to take another online question from the Facebook Live audience that relates to this. As you go from 10 million or 30 million to 100 million, the other thing you've really got to focus on is process and systemizing things. So one thing people are wondering here is when you scaled the business, how did you systemize the process on what you sold?
Yeah, so by breaking the process of building the company in these phases, right, it just gives you a richer language. And to understand that each phase is different. So when I find myself talking with early stage founders, right? So below 30 million, oftentimes below $1 million, I find myself saying, and this is contrarian advice that they're getting: don't hire a salesperson, right? And because I think back on our early days of Salesforce, and I don't know that we did this intentionally, but the first 30, 50 employees, probably 30, you're either an engineer or non-engineer. And if you're a non-engineer, guess what? You dealt with customers, right? And so all of us just dealt with customers. We talked to them. Again, none of this language existed because Salesforce invented this language, but we talked to them as SDRs. We closed them as salespeople. I deployed, some set of our first 10 customers, right? Brian, Millen, Diane, and Mark, they deployed the other ones. And, but then what happened is once we get to 30, 40 people and we start building the departments, well, what happened, right? I went and ran product management. Brian went and run business development. Another guy went to run, training. Another person went to run support. But we had this shared understanding of how to get customers successful. And it created a glue for the company. If we had instead hired a bunch of salespeople, they would have been a filter towards us actually learning how to build this company in the early stages. So there's actually a downside to hiring salespeople too early. You rather just throw a bunch of people that are that will become the department heads when the company forms and do that learning, right? Then there's the next stage, which is okay. You want 10 salespeople, say, all right, and but you're going to be personally involved in every single deal, and in some shape or fashion. And so there's more of a group learning in that environment, right? So you have to have some of these things pinned down and some repeatable success. But you can touch every deal, you can guide every rep, you can say, well, don't do this, right? Then you're going to get an environment where okay, you have 30 salespeople and you have managers, right, or a management layer, right? Then you got to think a different way. And now I don't think we actually talked about the number of salespeople we have, but imagine like a big number of salespeople, 3 layers of management worldwide. And I'll discover I drop into some country called Germany, and they're selling differently than the U.S., right? And it's like, oh, that's not good, right? And so now you've got to actually put sales enablement, sales operations, sales structure. You got to put a measurement system, and you visualize a brand new salesperson without the luxury of having you or your head of sales, on sales calls with them. How do you deliver a level of consistency with them? So it winds up just being a different scale challenge at these different phases.
This is a place where a board, investors can be really helpful to a company as they scale. Because irrespective if you have the founders and the original people selling or not up front, they should always be selling, but most companies have salespeople. What a board and what investors can help do is help a CEO see when someone's actually leveling out. And the person who may be the extraordinary person to do the first $1 million or a couple $1 million of sales probably is not the right person to take the company to 20 million, and is probably a different person than the executive who has the skills to run a company from 20 to 100 or 100 to 300, because it's just a different skill set of running hundreds of people with multi-departmental, with regions. It's just a different level of organization. And that's true in every functional area. And so I think really helping think through and bringing the pattern recognition that you have as a board member and investor of seeing that can really help CEOs see that, because a lot of times it's hard to move people out of an organization even though they aren't necessarily right for the next level.